Good afternoon to all of you for joining me today. We're going to be talking today about our call center solution, which is a combination of some of the features embedded on the PBX and some features that you buy with a license. But the intention is to give you an idea of what can you do with these features on a call center scenario. We're going to go through some slides, and then I'm going to jump into one of the applications just to give you an overview what you can have. We pepper this with some small information about new features and so forth. And then I actually encourage you, if you're interested, to go through a live demo with our technical team. And obviously, if you have an opportunity for a call center, count on us to be able to help you out, um, dimension those kind of solutions. If you have a customer or something and you don't really have time to learn about all the little nitty gritty in our product, just let us know and we'll help you dimension and see if our solution fits well for you. Okay, so essentially a little bit about Epygi. Many of you know this. We're an American company, top-notch development team. We've been around for 20 years um, selling this products. We have about 35 employees in 3 locations, U.S., in Orlando, where we have our headquarters, and Dallas, where we do some support, and the white is there. And then most of the rest of the team is in Yerevan, Armenia. And, you know, we design the products from the ground up. All the software and all the hardware, all the packaging is done by Epygi. And we did that initially with a Quadro line, and now we're doing it with a QX line as of 2014. And we're not going to cover the products today, but there we have several appliances for PBXs from the SMB to the enterprise. And we also have some gateways to complement it if you still want to connect to PSTN trunks, analog or digital, or some FXS trunks in the case of phones, not trunks, extensions. So we have the complete suite, and of course the cloud products that we started selling about 2.5 years ago, which include the ECQX Cloud PBX and the ECMon or Epygi Cloud Monitoring service, which is complementary to the PBX, intended for resellers to be able to provide a better service to their customers. You know, it gives you the ability to monitor your appliances on site, configure, manage configuration, do remote access, and many other things. It's a very good value for the price, and also is available for the cloud PBX. So, in one of the best things about Epygi is that we provide you appliances, we provide you cloud services, we provide you advanced features. We have excellent support team. Our products are mature. We integrate with third-party applications. We have a development team that even can assist you to create features if you want them. We have done that to some customers, and you have an excellent value, excellent price in our products also. Okay, so very quickly mention we're not based on open source asterisk. So we have our own call engine, we have our own codecs, we are, you know, our own echo cancellation, voice activity detection, jitter buffer, and all of those elements of the voice processing were all done by Epygi. So we have full control of that. All right. The ECMon I already mentioned about ECQX, and yeah, we're focusing on typically on verticals now, more value added, you know, including contact centers, hospitality, educational institutions. We already did a presentation on that. By the way, these presentations are recorded and they're going to be shown in our portal in our website, so you can at your leisure watch them again anytime. And government multi-site installations and so forth. And we've been, since our inception, we've been selling globally. Obviously, U.S. is our biggest market, but we have pockets of good penetration pretty much all over the world. And you can see some awards there on the bottom through the internet telephony events that we have attended. So what is the Epygi solution for call centers? Well, it includes IPPBX appliances, and it also includes some features that with optional licenses that we're going to cover. But essentially, what we consider as a group on call center is a function of a few licenses. The first one is automatic call distribution, which is the initial call center software that we created. And this is the one that allows you to create the call center in the PBX, including the queues, including assignment of agents to the queues, and then profiles of call distribution, as well as activities that you want to do when the calls are in the queue. So, the ACD as a standalone gives you the capability to do a call center. But then later on, we created the EAC, or the Epygi ACD Console, which is a web-based tool, and it's essentially for supervisors and agents to manage the call center activities, which is very visual, and it gives you a lot of information. That is sort of an add-on later on. So you either use ACD as it is, if you're not interested on the console, or you can use EAC. And when you use EAC, it comes with the ACD to activate the basic functionality of the call center. So most of the people using call center today with our product are using the EAC. And then the final is what we call AOC, or Automatic Outbound Calling, which is another web-based tool that was created for doing outbound campaigns. And I'll have a little bit of a talk about that later on. So essentially 3 main products that complement the PBX for call center functionality. Okay, so as far as PBX appliances, the call center applies to pretty much all the PBXs with the exception of the QX20. In the case of our South Africa distribution, also the UC20. But it's available anything from the 50 all the way to the 5,000. Okay, and the 5,000 also is sort of a recent server type product. The reason we brought it into is because people wanted to go beyond the 3,000 capability, want to be able to go to 5,000 extensions, and we brought that product into the mix. Okay. Now the cloud functionality is also available on the ECQX. The call center functionality available on the cloud ECQX options, and there we have 2 offerings on the cloud. One offering is using our own servers through our cloud portal here in the U.S., and we're providing that service pretty much start in the U.S., but we're offering pretty much anywhere. If you got a good internet connection, there's no reason that you can run with the servers over here. And as a matter of fact, if you want to try the cloud and play with it and see if it works, we can do that for you. And then the second flavor of the cloud is an ISO image. I will let you install that in your own servers or your own cloud infrastructure for those who wants to run their own hosted PBX service, obviously at a more aggressive pricing. But in either case, the cloud has a very low barrier to entry. There's no fees or a license or anything that you pay up front. It's just on a per use basis per month or per trimester. And obviously the call center functionality is available on the cloud too. Now we have other licensable features that apply to call centers. For example, call recording, we typically, or we sell that as a separate per simultaneous port license. So you can get, 2, 4, 8, 16. You can record all the calls or from specific ports, specific trunks, whatever you want to do there. Is very popular for call centers. People that do call center want to do call recording for subsequent analysis and coaching and so forth. In this case, our call recording is stored either on onboard memory or on remote um, a remote server. In this case, it would be a secure FTP or regular FTP, where you can dictate in what directory you want to drop the recorded calls, and then have the specific way you want to label the file names for easy search and retrieval later on. Okay, so call recording, very popular. Barge in is activates the ability for pretty much any extension, but in this case, it may be more of a supervisor to get into an agent-client call, either on a three-way call or listen in or do whispering to the agent. And is very popular too in call centers for coaching and monitoring activities for the performance of the agents in the call center. So barge in is another option. Third-party call control, or 3PCC, is pretty much our API to control the PBX with third-party software. We have some channels and resellers that want to do their own value-add software, whether it be some sort of predictive dialer or some sort of billing or some sort of interface to customers. And through this API, they can connect to our PBX. And in many cases, we actually even end up doing custom development for some of these. Since we got the development team, we're very familiar with our product, and we are very cost effective in that service. We have ended up doing a lot of applications for third-party customers. So, think of Epygi of not just appliance and cloud. We're pretty much a technical development team company. System redundancy is another option. In this case, and actually it works on all our products, from the 20 to the 5,000. Essentially, you buy a spare system and a redundancy license, and it locks in synchronized to the master. In the master, you have whatever licenses you need. You don't have to buy those same licenses on the spare, but the spare gets synchronized with the master. In case of a master failure, the spare takes over the functionality. In a matter of minutes, you're working again. Very important for especially a dedicated call center. You don't want to have an appliance or an issue affect your calls. And it's just one more level or one element of the redundancy that you probably need to consider. You probably want to have also redundant SIP trunk links and so forth. But those are all networking type activities. With our system redundancy, you take care of the PBX, and you don't have to rush and get another unit and load up the config or anything like that. We do have some bundles in our price list through your channel, your distributor. A couple of bundles aimed at tying together some of these licenses at a special price, probably more than 25% discount. And if you buy the bundle, then you're going to save if you want this functionality. Okay. I want to plug in here the new eCall soft phone. We've been talking about it very recently quite a bit because we just introduced it. We did have a soft phone for Epygi long time ago, but we abandoned that because there were too many open source free soft phones in the market. And it turns out that later we realized everybody wanted Epygi to have their own soft phone, especially something that we can build that will couple very well with our products. And then we can build up functionality on top of it that would be more custom to what people wanted. And eCall was born out of that. We spent over a year developing this thing, and we have it released today for Windows and for Android mobile, with a release for Apple iOS coming in later this year. It is pretty full-featured. It does, and it works, of course, with the cloud and the PBX appliance. On the cloud is very convenient because you can pretty much now have a cloud customer where you don't have to drop by to install any hard phone. I mean, you can have them use eCall on their Windows phones connected to our cloud solution, and makes it very easy. So the configuration setup of eCall is very good, very easy to do. And again, if you want to try eCall, let us know and we'll give you some free licenses on a time limited basis for you to do so. I think, I mean, playing with it speaks 1,000 words. So we can do that. But it does have a chat included. It does have very good, you can retrieve your voicemail. You can see your call history. You can also have several directory options, your Windows directory, Outlook directory, your PBX directory and favorites and so forth. So it's very feature rich in that area. Plus, it does have this 20, what we call MPKs, multiple programmable keys, where you can configure as many as 20 BLF and emulate what you have on your desk phone. So I'm showing an example here on the right side with, line info, watch extensions, park extensions, audio conference extensions, and so forth. So this is actually very interesting for um, the call center, because many people in the call center, they just want to use their Windows with whatever CRM, just have eCall as a soft phone with a headset, a USB or maybe a Bluetooth headset, and you don't need to have a desk phone. Okay, you can avoid that. We did win Internet Telephony Product of the Year at the IT Expo here in February in Fort Lauderdale this year. So, okay, now you have enterprise PBXs. This is just to illustrate capacities, just to give you an idea. The base number of extensions that come with these systems. I'm talking about the 500 and above, the maximum number of extensions that it can grow, maximum number of external concurrent calls. Okay, now this is important. These are external calls that are passing through the PBX. I mean, if you have extension to extension callings that are on the same network segment, then the PBX is just doing the session setup, and those calls are additional. So you don't have to, those are not included in here because we're not actually moving the data through the PBX. So you have very good call capacity, and the way that we typically sell the products is that we give you the maximum call capacity on the base unit. You just pay for extensions. Okay. Some other products, like for example, 3CX, is the other way around. It's just a different model. But I believe even in the 3CX case, you have to pay for concurrent call capacity on extension to extension calls. Okay. So anyway, just a different way to skin the cat, so to speak. Good capacity in call recording, audio conference, simultaneous ports. You can see a number of EAC, simultaneous EAC agents. And in the case of the 3000 and the 5000, they do include a WebRTC server, okay, which is a great feature. I'll talk a little bit about that later on. The 500 and below, they don't have that because it just eats too much of the bandwidth. We just have a reserve for the high-end products on the cloud. BLF subscriptions, those are the BLF buttons. So, let's say if you got 10 buttons on one extension, it's taking 10 subscriptions per extension. So this gives you the capacity of subscriptions on those buttons that we have. Okay, so a little bit about ACD or call center management, what we call the ABCs. Again, this is not a tutorial on how to run a call center, but it's just to give you some basic ideas. So you do have an admin login that pretty much manages the entire software of the PBX. And then you also create or assign agents out of your extensions. And then you can also assign some of those agents to be supervisors. So there's really no limitation how many can be supervisors. It's pretty much whatever you want to program, okay? Also, we have the concept of ACD queue, which is the basis for the call center. I mean, the queue is pretty much the group that is going to have the calls on hold that will be distributed to the agent. So it's a very simple definition. And as far as Epygi, you can put as many queues as you want, as your heart desires. So we typically use an example of someone with a sales queue, a marketing queue, a support queue for inbound calls. And of course, you got agents assigned to those queues through the PBX. Auto attendant, that's pretty much very important for the distribution of the incoming calls. One very popular method will be to do that, or you can have the IDs or other options. But the auto attendant in our case is you can have many auto attendants. There's no restriction to only one or two with multiple levels. Okay, and that gives you a lot of flexibility to be able to how to do the handling of the incoming calls. And then as far as reports, not only you get the reports online on the EAC, but we have many predefined reports that you can download as a CSV file. So how do you do inbound calls? This is just an example here. Again, you can use the auto attendant, incoming calls, sales, marketing, support, DID numbers that go or have a one main number that comes in distributed through the auto attendants with those options, or a direct DID to a queue where you just publish sales number, it goes straight into the sales queue. You can use a receptionist if you want her to distribute, be able to answer the calls initially and then distribute the calls to the call center. So all those are options. Or in the case of the WebRTC, I mean, if you want to have a link, a URL link in your website in support, which actually is pretty handy. If someone is browsing your website, their support page, you may have a link, a pop-up link that shows up and says, hey, give us a quick call right now to talk to support. Then that link will send out a WebRTC call from your browser. Most of them are supporting WebRTC nowadays, and then goes into our PBX, the 3000 or the 5000 or the cloud, and we have an embedded WebRTC server that will receive that call and convert it to zip and then send it anywhere on the PBX, including your call center queues. So there you have it. You don't have to pay any license to activate WebRTC on this product because it comes with it, but you can have an excellent way for people to reach out your call center, especially if it's sales related, so they can talk to somebody and you may be able to clinch a sale. As far as agents are concerned, the agent, they can use their desk phone, they can send and receive their normal calls, but then they can also, when they're logged in and active, they will get their call center calls from the queues. And the way you identify them is look at your screen on your phone. It will tell you the calls coming from the queues, or if it is coming from the outside with a DID number, or you can even use program distinctive ringing if you want to do so. I mean, if you want to use a distinctive ring when the call comes in to the sales queue, you can do that. So you can log in, log out on the queue anytime you want. You can do that through the EAC console, or you can do it through the keypad on the phone, star 78, I believe, or you can do a program button on the BLF to log in, log out, and then by the LED on the button, if you're logged in or logged out on the queue at that particular time. Okay. You can work locally or you can work remotely. You can even have queue calls sent out to your mobile phone, okay, if you want to. Or you can have a remote phone at home, or you can use an e-call on your laptop when you're, after hours. You can do all of that. And an agent can be a member of one or more queues. You got the super agents that are good at handling support and sales, then they can be part of both queues, whatever you want to do. Okay. All right. Here's just an example, just to illustrate a typical scenario, just a little illustration. You got customers that are calling in through PSTN numbers to your QX200 on the top right, and then some other callers coming in through your SIP trunks. They call to the QX200, the IVR answers, press option 1 to go to sales, press option 2 here to go to marketing, and then press option 3 to go to TSS, which is what we call our Epygi support. There you have it, 3 different queues. And of course, once you're on the queue, then different agents are going to be receiving the calls to take care of them. Okay, very simple. Now, let's talk a little bit about ACD and EAC. Essentially, ACD, like I was telling you, is the standalone license to create the call center and the PBX, create the queues, and create the agents or assign extensions to agents and then combine the two. And it does not require the EAC console, okay? But the EAC console is the one that gives a beauty to all of this. That's the one I'm going to show you live in a few minutes here. You can log in via the button, or you can use star 78 on the keypad. You can distribute calls on the ACD in many different ways. Here's just an example of some of them. All agents can be ringing at the same time, or you can do a round robin assignment. The longest agent that has been idle is going to be the one getting the next call. There's another variation of that, less busy during the last half hour, random hunting, and then also skills based, which is a little popular. You give a skill rating, let's say on sales to agents, let's say from 0 to 10. And when an agent is free, the queue is going to give the call to the free agent that has the highest skill rating at that time. Okay. So obviously the guys with the highest skill are going to get most of the calls, right? But anyway, these are all setups that you can do. Here are some options that you can activate while you have customers on the queue, right? And the queue, they're on waiting. They called in. Typically, what you do is that you give them a welcome message, and then after that, you can combine this with music on hold. And in our case, you can upload music on hold files, or you can create a file list or a playlist, MP3 playlist that it is in memory, and let them play that. And again, obviously, music on hold can be either music or marketing announcements or a combination of both. So, welcome message, music on hold. There's also a recurring queue message if you want to play some tunes and then go back and play some advertising. So you have many combinations to do this for these people on the queue to be able to be entertained or bored based on what you're playing them. Now, they also have options. I mean, you can have a timeout for them once they're in the queue a certain time. You can kick them out of the queue and send them to an extension because, you don't want the guy to hang up, and so you don't want them there to be bored for too long, or you give them the option of pressing 0 and get redirected to an extension to be taken care of. You can also have a queue status, which means that you can say, hey, you're number 5 on the queue, or your average wait time is, I don't know, 5 minutes. You have those options. Or there is a queue callback. I mean, they can have the option of pressing keys to essentially hang up, and as soon as an agent is freed up, it will call him back. Okay, so all of these are options for handling messaging and the call handling while the customers are in your queue. EAC is brings in, like I was saying earlier, a lot of visual, web-based, and a really nice console to manage for agents and supervisors to manage the call center. So essentially, you got a dashboard that gives you real-time queue data. You can manage the statuses and the calls for the agents. If you're a supervisor, you can see status of the queues, status of the agents, real-time and historical reports, chat with other agents, supervisors, and admins. Also, use closure codes and comments to track the calls for post-processing. Again, web-based, you don't have to install any app. All they do is log into the QX, your agents, and you can even allow that to be done remotely, okay? And then there's also supervisor scrolling message feature that you can use. So I am going to go and change the presentation now to a live demo here that I have, bear with me, on the EAC. Okay, so you should be seeing the EAC console now. All right. And what I'm showing you here is a login of the dashboard. This dashboard gives you real-time data. In this demo, we have, let me get a drawing tool here, a spotlight. In this demo, we have sales queue, technical support queue, promotion, marketing, and test. And then these are all columns that you can either include or exclude. And you can do all this randomly, okay? The first one shows you online agents. The second one in yellow shows you how many are busy out of the total. Um, the other one in blue tells you how many agents are in aux mode. That could be like a disable mode, and it could be anything. You define these values. How many calls are in the queue, on that queue? For example, here in promotion, we got 5 calls in the queue, now changing to 4. How many are active calls? All this call waiting in time, okay? And again, all these stats get stored in some of the reports. How many calls have been answered? Answer speed average, call duration average, abandoned calls. These are calls that the caller decided to leave. And then the average second time or time in queue wait time. So this is what we call the dashboard, and you can put this on open it up on a browser, on a PC, connect a big TV screen to it, and you can show that to all the agents, okay? And again, whatever you want to see here is programmable. We clutter this demonstration just to show you some of the columns, but you don't need to have all of this stuff, okay? Now, if I go and I choose, let's say on calls, this is where I will be seeing my own calls. I'm a supervisor on this screen, so I don't have any calls that come to me. By the way, this is a demo call generator that we have on the cloud that is simulating inbound calls to the call center, okay? And so it's not perfect, but in this case, I don't have any calls coming in. But I could come over here to the top right, and I could put phone numbers in here, and I could make outbound calls if I want to, okay? In this case, when I make that outbound call on this screen, it's going to ring my phone, and it's going to call the destination number, okay? Here in the top, you have settings. I could actually use this to change from online to away to coffee break to whatever, change my status, okay? And then I can also see my own statistics. You know, here I have selected me. I'm a supervisor. I'm actually offline. You can see that's my status right now. And I have this pie charts that tell me, activities in the sales queue, tell me activity in the technical support queue, outbound calls, inbound calls, with some stats on the right that I can change on a time frame. Okay, so I'm actually looking at statistics of me as an agent. I can also see call summary. Actually, I don't have any call summary here, so I'm going to change to someone else. Let me go change to another agent. Let me go to this Sierra Douglas, for example. Okay, so Sierra right now is an agent. She's busy and online, and she belongs to marketing, the marketing queue. Here's a pie chart of the amount of calls, the percentage of the calls that have been either online, ringing, busy, in the wrap-up mode, or not defined. So you get statistics in here that you can actually change on a time. Here we're showing only for today, but you can show this weekly, daily, monthly, whatever you want, okay? So you get some stats in here. I can also see summary of calls. These are the ones that have been answered on the marketing queue, okay, by her. we can see here some of the call details that were assigned to her, to Ciara, and again, what queue it is, the call started, the remote party, the time in queue, call direction, how was it closed, and then here's you have this wrap-up code option. For example, if I go here, I can select a predefined wrap-up code, let's say contact, and save it, okay? Or I can go back, let's see if I can show you here. So, or I can go back and put here a comment, okay? I want to put a comment that says, call them tomorrow, and save it, okay? And then that will show here on the screen. So, and I don't know if you can see this because it's very small, but it's right here on the bottom. So this wrap-up codes, these are, it's an option that you can have where once you finish a call on the queue as an agent, you can define the PBX to give you so many seconds for you to select on this call history, this wrap-up codes, either from the predefined menu or freehand, write up some information. And then what happens, you can either see this on the reports or you can download this in CSV for post processing. Maybe you give it to another department and then depending on what the wrap-up code is, they'll follow up. So now, while you're doing this wrap-up code, you can program the PBX not to send you any other call, hold any other queue call to you for so many seconds so you got time to do this, okay? And again, all of this is optional, it's programmable, but it is available if you want to benefit from this feature, right? So let me go back to normal. And I don't know if you noticed a few minutes ago, but Ciara had changed status. She was busy and then she was offline. It changed colors. And here, of course, this last tab is this wrap-up code summary. Service evaluation, there are 2 count. Contact is 1 count. Okay, so anyway. So these are pretty much the agent stats. Now, let me go back to Ciara. Okay, and I was showing you her options. Now, let me go back to queues. Okay, and this is pretty much the entire queue set. There are 2 types of calls. There's direct calls. These are calls that the agents are either directly inbound or directly outbound. Do not belong to the queues, but we do have those statistics, the stats on those calls. And here we see some real-time info, how many are direct inbound and outbound for the agents. And then on the table below where we have queues, that is where we see the queue information. For example, we have a AOC test queue, marketing, promotion, sales, technical support, and test. So in this case, we have 7 queues on this PBX. The queues are defined by extension number. It tells me if I am a member, what type of member. I'm a supervisor, how many agents are online, how many calls are in the queue, and how many have been answered. Okay, now if I go click in here, let's say on the marketing queue. Oh, sorry, I'm using the wrong. I need to get this thing back here. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, if I go back to marketing, now I'm looking at the marketing queue. Here I have a real-time screen of calls in queue and active calls, which is the top 2 bars you see here. And then I also see historical data in the charts below based on the time frame that I pick. Okay, this is only today. So total calls, answered calls, abandoned calls, rejected calls, callback requested. Okay, again, rejected meaning that the system rejected the call for whatever reason. Abandoned is that they were in the queue and they decided to leave. Of course, answered is very self-explanatory. But again, some average statistics times. You can use this screen also for to put up on a as a dashboard if you want to. But in any case, I'm looking at the marketing queue. Now I can see agents by clicking here. I can see that I have 5 agents: Betty, Adam, Rudy, Joe, and Ciara, that are active. They're online. I'm a supervisor, so that I can actually click in here and change their status on the spot. Okay, or I can actually, here on this third column, I can actually, for example, for Rudy, I'm going to tell him I'm going to disable him from receiving any call for whatever reason. I want to talk to Rudy. I want to shut him down for the minute. Instead of putting him offline, I just want to shut off him receiving any call, because I'm going to call him to talk to him about something personally, right? You can do that as a supervisor. And then you get here information. Let me get the spotlight. Here it shows you a dynamic icon, what is happening. This is a phone handset. These are in yellow, meaning that they're in an active, agents are in an active calls. The ones in blue, it means that they're in wrap-up mode, okay? And then it tells you the status time. These guys have been in wrap-up, for example, 32 seconds. The other ones have been on a call for like a minute and 10 seconds, right? And so it gives you like a quick snapshot of what is happening with the agents in the queue real time, okay? Now, if I go to live calls, these are all of the calls that are right now being answered, okay? And if me as a supervisor, I want to kill that call, I can go to the right column here in the red and kill the call by pushing this button, okay? Call summary, that's additional information on this queue, how many calls each agent has done with an average duration, a total duration. And then, of course, the details. And you can see here, pretty much it's like the call detail record. I was showing you about the wrap-up code before. We can actually filter here by wrap-up code. In this case, I'm a supervisor, so I'm seeing all of the different calls by all of the agents in this particular queue. I can also see if it was an inbound call or an outbound call. If it's actually, this is all inbound calls, but I can show here in green if they were successful, or in red if there was an error code or an error, the call was not handled. In this particular case on the screen, there was no agent available at the time. So, all right. That's related to queues. Wrap-up codes, again, these are the ones that are defined. There are 11 different wrap-up codes defined on the system, and then if you click in there, you're going to get statistic about those. Agents, I showed you this earlier on. In this particular screen, we're seeing all of the agents on this call center here. There's 229 agents on this call center, and then you can see which ones are active. Most of these guys that you see here on the screen with the hands that are in yellow, it means that they are handling an active call. And if you want to do a chat, you can do it from here or from the chat screen here on the left menu. But let's say that you want to chat to Bruno. Here's Bruno. I can either call Bruno on this right column. Let me highlight it for you. I can either call Bruno here or chat to him. So if I want to chat, let me go and click on chat. It brings me to the chat screen. And then here on the right side, I have different chats that are going on. This one to Bruno, I'm just going to type some garbage in here and send it to him. Okay. Now I have here like a little group chat with these 3 people, Rodrigo, Melanie, and Jordan. And then I have another one with James, another one with Andy. Actually, Anders sent me a couple of replies. There we go. This is actually today. We were trying to set this up. Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿En qué te ayudo? All right. And they know Spanish. Okay, so here I have my chats. Why this is important? Because then you want to collaborate with the other agents. You got questions, you're talking to a customer, go to the chat, and then talk to a colleague and say, hey, listen, Joe has a question and I need to help him out. I don't know anything about this. So you can do it through the chat. Contacts. This is just like a contact list that you can import to make phone calls. extensions. These are all of the extensions of the PBX, not only for the call center, but all of the PBX. You can see here, these extensions in the bottom are not, they're not agents, but you can actually call these colleagues from here if you want to. And reporting. Reporting, you can schedule reports. Here is a few reports that are scheduled to be sent out daily or weekly or Friday, and then you can set up the time and where do you want to send these reports to. Okay, so you can send reports on schedule, or you can actually see them or download them. And here we have predefined reports. In general, we have all of these reports: agent queues, wrap-up codes, skills, extensions. For call detail records, we had a whole bunch of reports. And actually what you do is either you can schedule them on the right column here, or you can click on one of these reports, set up the interval that you want to get the report, select queues and so forth, and then run it. And when you run it, it will download that report into your PC. Or of course, if you schedule it, it will send it out on a schedule. So there's a whole bunch of them. I'm not going to go through them, but I mean, if you need a special report and it's not rocket science to do, we can do it for you. Okay, but you're gonna find pretty much all the ones you need here. And then I don't know if you notice, I'm going back to the dashboard here, that there is something scrolling on the top here, and it's called a marquee. If I move my mouse up there, it stops scrolling. Here's a message: try our new ECQX, hello world. So it is a message that the supervisor can put in on this marquee, okay? And that way, if you have a promotion or anything you want to announce to the agents, they can see that scrolling up here on the top, okay? All right. Okay, I'm going to go back to the presentation, and then we're going to be done in just a few minutes, okay? All right. Okay, so that was pretty much what I just went through, is explaining what it is on the screen now, you know, about the ACD console. If you guys want to demo this, just send me an email and I'll have the guys spend 20 minutes with you and do a more in-depth demo. Or if you want to learn how to configure it, they'll do that with you. Okay. The other option that we have is the outbound calling. I do have a demo for this, but it's very basic. AOC pretty much is done by the supervisor. There's a login screen for that, and you import an Excel file of numbers to call, and you import recorded messages that you want to play. And then when you activate this, the call center will call these numbers out and then play that message optionally, right? And then tie up that call when the person answers to a high priority queue. And then you assign the agents you want to handle that queue, okay? And it is a high priority because an outbound call center, you really don't want to call someone and then put them in the regular queue with welcome message, music on hold, because they're going to hang up. I mean, they just got a call. They want to know what you calling for. So typically it should go to an agent right away. And typically you should have it designed so that when it goes to this high priority queue, it doesn't sit there for too long. Okay. You need to have agents logged in so that they can take the call pretty much right away. Right. But anyway, you can do this for marketing campaigns, for calling appointments and doctors, whatever you want to do, and it is available, and it is a separate login a screen for supervisor. So okay. Now as far as the rest of the presentation, I just kind of want to fill in on some things in here, and then I'm going to take your call center queues. I'm sorry, call center presentation chat calls or chat messages, I should say. I'm confused in here, but things that we want to add here. I mean, we don't make PBX phones. other people do it. We test all these brands and all pretty much most of their models for auto configuration, plug and play, push in the template to the phone. I mean, this is a service to you. You don't have to do that yourself. You don't have to scratch your head. Does Epygi work with Yelling or not? I mean, we're done the homework, okay? And you don't even have to open the GUI for basic config. So it tells you that we have spent the resources to be able to make it easy for you to select whatever device you want to use. The only thing that we have that is ours is the new e-call, and we would like as many people to use equal as possible, and I think that's probably going to be the future. Everybody is going to be using their mobile device or their laptop, but in any case, you have all these phones available. You have all of these cameras, Mobotics, ground stream access cameras on their SIP protocol that you can bring into the system the same way with paging adapters and door openers. Mobotics, cyber data, alphatech access, 2N, Fanville, they all have GroundStream, they all have SIP-based door openers that you can bring into the mix connected to the PBX. And here are part of our team. These are the folks in Armenia. I don't have them all in here, but they're all very happy. And in our offices over there. Again, if you want to do EAC demos, let us know. If you want to try a license, we'll send you a license for whatever you want. If you got a project that you want to dimension it, send us an email. We'll get our tech team to help you out, dimension that, and give you assistance in configuring it. sales@epygi.com. Here's our phone number. Our website has a lot of information. And if you have not registered in the portal, we recommend you do so. And of course, we're in social media. All right. So we're pretty much done today. I will entertain any questions on the chat. I got one here from Mr. Sanchez, where he says, can you go in deep in the reports on the AOC? On the AOC, there are no reports on the AOC login. The AOC is to bring in the campaign. You can have several outbound campaigns at the same time. They could be all simultaneous, different list. Let's say you have 10 campaigns and each one of them has a different list. You can do that. But then because once the call is established, it is done through the queue, the high priority queue, and is dealt by the agents, then you're going to have all those statistical reports on the EAC, okay, on the EAC, on the standard reports that I was showing you earlier, okay. I don't have a list of all of the reports, but if you send us an email, I can have our team give you the list and maybe a sample, and you can see what we have available there, okay. We actually had a report recently where a customer wanted to have a history of what the agents were doing. They log in, they go to lunch, they take so many calls. These are the calls that they took. It's like a whole history throughout the day of what what the agents were doing. How many, who was calling them, and all of this was for analysis. To evaluate the performance of an agent versus another from a historical basis, okay, on a not just stats, but chronologically, okay. So we added that report for this customer. So another question is, can we extend the storage via USB or SD card on the US QX products? And the answer is yes. We do have about a little over 2 gigabytes on the smaller products of user memory, voicemails, call recordings, greetings, and then you can expand that with micro SD cards or SD cards. And then if that is not enough, then you can, for the call recordings, you can use the external FTPs, okay? All right. Any other questions?